Welcome to From Click to Client, where we transform a confusing message into a clear, compelling story that sells. I'm your host, Kris Jones, Storybrand marketing expert. I'm here to help you attract more dream clients with the power of story. I had such a great time talking with Kristin Sweeting on her podcast, and it was so good. I wanted to share it with you today. Here we go.
Well, hey, and welcome back to the Dangerous Creatives podcast. I'm your host, Kristin Sweeting, and today we have such a treat. Kris Jones is on the podcast with us. She is a Storybrand guide and founder of Red Door Design, is an expert with words and stories. And so if you've ever hit a moment, either in your marketing or your copywriting or what to post on Instagram where you're like, I just don't know what to say. I know I have great pictures, but I don't know how to talk about this. Kris is going to help us out so much today, and stick around to the end because we're going to even do a little workshop together where we write your elevator pitch. So Kris, I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Thanks for being on the Dangerous Creatives podcast.
I am so happy to be here, Kristin. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, so you were mentored by Donald Miller, who is the founder of Storybrand, and you use Storybrand framework in a lot of the work that you do. Can you explain what that is? What's a Storybrand framework?
Yeah, I can. So Storybrand framework is essentially a filtering device. What Donald Miller did was he really found that there are a handful of components to every story that was ever written or every movie that was ever shown. Right? There's this common ingredients to every story. And so what he did was he broke that down and he converted it into a formula or a way to communicate story through your business and through your marketing. And so Donald had a company actually here in Portland. He now lives in Nashville. Near you, but he had a company here in Portland and the marketing was not working. And he had been an author for many years, and he was like, I'm going to crack this damn code and get this event company thriving. And so he really married the two parts of his mind, which were business and story. And he figured out how to use a framework, a story framework, and apply that to marketing. So that's how it came about. And like before the book was even finished, I got on board with his approach and got to work with him directly, which was amazing. He's brilliant and talented. And the framework has really changed the way that I do all the work that I do. So prior to meeting Donald, I was doing a lot of website design and development and some branding. And then once I learned the framework, I was able to make the websites that I was building so much more effective. Like it was mind blowing to me, the results that happened for my clients once I incorporated storytelling. And I've never looked back. Now I just focus on the story part of it because I find it is the thing that moves the needle the most for my clients.
Yeah. Before he was doing that, I remember there was a moment in my own business because, photography, it feels like there would be limitless amount of things to post, to promote your work, whatever. The photos should speak for themselves. And a lot of times the photos don't speak for themselves enough because there's like beautiful photos everywhere. And started kind of incorporating storytelling into what I was writing, what was on the website. And I was like, oh my gosh, it just was connecting deeper with people. I saw like a total change in my business. And then learning more about Storybrand and applying his framework, same thing. So I'm so excited that you're here today and that all of our listeners get to do it with us today. But for people that don't know what the framework is, it's 7 steps, right? Can you remind me what the Storybrand framework is?
Well, the most simple version of it is that every story begins with a hero who has a problem. And that hero meets a guide that has a solution. That guide gives them a 3-step plan. And then the hero is able to find and experience success and avoid failure. So that's really like every story in a nutshell. in its most simple form.
Like when you think through like chick flicks and adventure movies and books that are popular, like a lot of them all have that same framework, right?
Not a lot. All of them do. They all do. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay, so we're going to get a hold of this today. So what are some of those key elements that really make words more powerful? Have you found some things that like when we throw this into your marketing or when we put this on your website, it really makes it more powerful than if we weren't doing that?
I mean, I find that there are a handful of storytelling components that when you put them all together, they really tell a story. And I think that there's a lot of confusion around how to tell a story because we've grown up being read to as kids, and we think of like kind of a story as once upon a time, this and that. And it's not that we're not doing that, but what we're really doing is inviting our clients into a story with us, into a narrative with us, where they can imagine themselves in the story that we're telling. And they are the hero of the story. And we are the guide in the story that knows how to overcome their problem and help them experience success. So the key is really establishing those roles, establishing them as the hero. And we do that by talking about them, not ourselves. We talk about their problem, their frustrations, their hopes, their dreams. And we also show up with empathy as well. So every guide is really empathetic toward their hero because they know the struggle. They've been there, they've done that, and they know how to get to the other side. So that's really that's, you know, some of the like the core way that we use story is establishing those roles within the story.
I love that. Yeah. A question I get asked a lot in coaching or in marketing or when people are growing their business is like, okay, I want to connect deeper with my audience and I want to tell stories, but like, how much is too much to talk about myself? And, you know, like none of us want to act like we think we're self-important. So it's like, how much is too much to share about me? How does my story fit into this whole equation? Like, I get that we should make them the hero, but like, we should talk about us a little bit too. How do you reconcile those things? What pieces end up being important in that, like establishing the guide credibility?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's be honest, people really care about themselves. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but that they really care about themselves and solving their own problems. So I think this will hopefully be a load off for some people that you actually don't have to talk about yourself hardly at all. And
Yeah.
the only way you really need to talk about yourself is as it relates to your client or your customer in the ways that they're interested. And the only thing they really care about you is they don't care where you grew up. They don't care that you love to ski or you love to hike. They care that you know how to solve their problem and you can do it painlessly or quickly or affordably or whatever kind of things that you can throw in the pot to make that would benefit them. But really, like in any about section that I craft, it's really all about the hero. Even when you're talking about yourself, it's like, I understand how hard this is for you. I know the struggle that you're going through. I had my own challenges with this in the past, and this is how I overcame it. And this is the plan that I typically use to overcome this challenge. So it's like, I'm kind of talking about me, like my picture's there, but it's really, really focused on my client.
Yeah. I think that does take a load off for so many people because I think we have it in our heads. We have it ingrained in our heads that like marketing means selling myself, you know, that marketing means convincing you that I'm worth hiring. And I think this framework is so helpful because it's like you don't actually have to say how important you are or say why you should hire me. You just have to show the other person that you understand their dilemma and you know how to help them get through it. And that it does, it like takes such a load off.
It does. And the more you convince, the more kind of they can smell a little bit of desperation. So, a lot of times people talk about features of the work that they do instead of the benefits of it, the success of it. So really want to keep asking yourself, instead of talking about me and the features that the things that I bring to the table, it's more, you want to ask yourself, what's their life going to look like after they've worked with you? Are they going to have keepsakes that they can fondly look back on for decades? What are those benefits after the fact, that they're how's their life going to look after they've worked with you?
Can you give me an example? You can even use from your business. Like, what are features of what you offer versus the benefits of what you offer?
Features of what I offer are that we get together and we have a collaboration call. It's kind of like details about how I work, that you've got 30 days of support after our collaboration call. And it's not that stuff isn't important. It's just that it shouldn't be the forefront of the story. You really want to establish those roles early on your website, and then later down on the page you can certainly talk about features, but they're not going to buy into it unless they know how they're going to benefit from it. So like benefits might be like, make a lasting impression, elevate the vibe of your celebration, and receive high quality keepsakes. Like, those are all things that are really going to benefit me as like a customer of yours.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there things that you would say to someone who's in an industry that's really saturated, like photography, for example? It's really easy for everyone to be like, and we'll help you make great memories, like, do you have anything that you coach people through when you're like, am I just saying the same thing as everyone else? How do I make it a little bit different? Do I need to be worrying about that?
Yeah. I mean, in any industry that's saturated, you do hear these common words all the time. And I think the key is just brainstorming and figuring out different ways to do it. Also, look at your testimonials. If you're getting feedback or reviews from other people, you really want just to communicate what you do that's a little bit different. Like, maybe even your audience that you work with is a little bit different. Or there was actually a photography client that I worked with yesterday, and he said something about creating a wow moment. They do photo booths at events, and so we came up with a benefit statement and a philosophical statement around that. And we wrote, we believe vintage photo booths are the easiest way to create a bona fide wow moment for all your guests.
Fun.
And so like that, there's more photographers than there are photo booth companies, but there's always a way to kind of infuse some personality and some even more casual kind of lingo into it that makes it feel less vanilla.
Yeah, totally. That makes it feel a little bit more authentic to you.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned like a benefit statement or a brand statement. Are there things like that where you're like, I would love everyone to have a brand statement, an elevator pitch, a great about page? Like, what are some of those elements of a website that really make it pop, that someone should like take a little time to focus on maybe?
Yeah, well, there's really two things. In your header section, you want to answer 3 questions. What do you do? Well, you want your customer to be able to answer 3 questions, right? What do you do? How is it going to make my life better? And what do you want me to do next to work with you? And you've got about 5 seconds to communicate that. I call it the grunt test. I call it the grunt test because really what you want is a caveman to be able to look at your website and grunt what you do to somebody else. Like, it has to be so simple, not clever at all, just very, very clear wins over clever every time. So that would be the number one thing that you must have. Otherwise, if people have to work to figure out what you do or how they're going to benefit from it, they're probably going to leave the website or work with somebody else. So you just want to welcome them to your website by answering those 3 questions right off the bat. And then the other thing that's a little bit more work is, I am a huge believer in the elevator pitch, tagline, one-liner, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing, in my opinion. I often call it a tagline because I define a tagline as one simple phrase that sells for you. And I find once we craft that, it's actually a very, very short, concise story. But you can copy and paste that into all your social media. You can put it on your website. You can put it on the back of your business card. You can put it on all your social profiles. So I find that having that statement allows you to really like answer that question, even in person. What do you do, in a way that kind of gets people excited to work with you and helps them remember what you do, which is half the battle.
Totally. I know. I think we all think that people are thinking about us more than they are, right? We all have this fear of judgment, or, oh, these people from high school are going to be judging my business. Or not. I'm like, really, people just aren't thinking about us as much as we think. And we need to remind them why we are around, what we're doing, how we can help. It's such a great point.
Yeah.
Are there any favorite elevator pitches or like taglines from businesses? It can be a big business, but like, what's an example? What's one that you really like?
Well, I think that there's a lot of confusion about it. Like, people think I need a mission statement, I need a tagline, I need a one-liner or an elevator pitch. They need all these things. And like Nike, of course, their tagline is just do it. And the reason that works is because they have $1 bajillion.
They can plaster it all over the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Right. So that's why that works. But, in my opinion, you don't need a tagline like that. I think of a tagline as a little bit longer than that. Like, in my opinion, a true tagline, it really tells a story around the problem that you solve and the benefits of it. And it positions your service as the solution to that problem. So it's the one thing that I do with every client, no matter what. We always begin there because it really informs everything else that we create together. And even if everybody just did that work, you'd be kind of blown away by how confident you feel all of a sudden about communicating what you do. And when you have to come up with copy, you kind of lean on that because it's so compelling, and it kind of opens up the conversation, whether it's written or in person. It opens it up for more conversation.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do it together. All right. If you're listening, get out your notebook, paper. I'm like, these podcasts end up just being classes. I'm like, all right, everyone get your notepad out. Let's do this. We're going to work on an elevator pitch together with Kris. All right. Where do we start?
Okay. So a little while ago, I mentioned the most simple form of story you've ever heard in your life, which is a hero has a problem they can't solve. They meet a guide who has a solution, and then that hero finds success. So what I want you to do is write down 3 things. What problems are your clients struggling with? So Kristin, you get to maybe just brainstorm out loud. You get this opportunity to brainstorm out loud. So what are a few problems that your clients have?
Yeah.
What are they struggling with? And think like when you're on the phone with them, what do they, in their words, what do they tell you?
Yeah. They're looking for a wedding photographer.
Mhm.
So they want to have that day captured so they remember it forever. And a lot of times my client is more on the fashionable editorial side and their parent is more traditional. And so they're trying to kind of balance both sides and make everybody happy.
Ooh,
And
that's great.
yes, yeah. And then let me think what else. They're high achievers, so they don't have a lot of time to mess around. They want to hire someone that really knows what they're doing, that is going to make it an easy process for them.
Okay.
I'd say like stress reduction is one of the biggest values I bring to my wedding photography clients.
Okay, got it. You mentioned easy process, stress reduction, and one other thing.
The balance of like fashionable and timeless.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So this is great. Your brain dump, you kind of captured multiple things. So I want to hone in on the problem, which is many brides lean toward a more fashionable editorial style, while their parents lean toward more traditional look and feel.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to balance those two together.
Yeah.
Right. They want to make everybody happy, but they don't know how to make everybody happy when you've got these two conflicting styles. So I would totally hone in on that
Yeah.
as your problem. I think that's a solid problem. The other problem is that they don't have time to mess around. But I think, and that's a legitimate problem as well. They're overwhelmed. They don't have time to mess around. They just need to find somebody to do it right. But I think that this problem around the fashionable editorial versus the more traditional sounds like pretty, you hear a lot about that.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be worthwhile. So let's come up with like a simple statement around that. So kind of think out loud with me here. So is it usually the bride that hires you?
Yeah, or the wedding planner, but it's kind of, or, so it's kind of like a compilation of people.
I would say that I'm glad this came up. I would say the wedding planner is kind of like an exterior person, even though they might be making the decision. They're going to want to know that this is what you provide for the bride.
Yeah.
So I think it will encompass that wedding planner.
Yes.
If we focus on communicating directly with the bride, it's going to encompass the wedding planner.
Right? I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. They just want to make their client happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we might start with something like many brides. So we want to identify who our audience is. Many brides struggle to find a photographer, a wedding, I might just say photographer, who can, let's see, hold on, let me think about this for a second. So
who can like balance the fashionable editorial look while maintaining a classic elegance that lasts forever. I don't know. That was just really
well. I think that's that's great. I think we really want to speak to kind of the struggle of they're trying to make everybody happy. So I would say many brides struggle to make everybody happy, or struggle to find a photographer that will make everybody happy, even though the family has conflicting styles. Something along those lines.
Yeah, for sure. Or like, yeah, the feeling torn between,
I like that, feeling torn.
Yeah, like feeling torn between fashionable trends and the timeless photos that your mother will love or that your family will love or something like that. I don't know.
Okay. How
Brain
about
dumping.
that? Yeah, I love it. No, I love this because I get to pull out the golden nuggets. So many brides feel torn between pleasing their parents with a classic style or following like taking a more modern approach.
Yeah, I like the modern approach. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Does it help us it helps us to pick like one problem like we're doing, right? Like to say what's one problem we can speak to instead of trying to like answer 5 problems.
Yes. So Donald Miller gives a great example of this, but when you go to watch Born Identity, the movie, like he needs to find his identity. He doesn't know who he is. So if you introduced other problems, like he wants to find a girlfriend, he wants to adopt a cat, and he wants to travel the world, like all of a sudden we're overwhelmed with too many problems, and we it wouldn't tell a good story. So the beautiful thing is that this exercise can be done. You can do it, pick one problem every time you do it, but you could have 3 taglines that you use depending on who you're talking to, or even on different pages on your website. So if you had a page just for the wedding photography, this one-liner or tagline would really be what you'd hone in on that page. And then if you had different types of clients, maybe children's photography, you'd obviously totally different problem.
Yeah. Okay. So pick one problem and then is that step 1?
Yep. Define the problem. Awesome. So this process takes about a full hour, which we don't have today. So we're going to kind of like Frankenstein it together. But we'll get the nuggets down and then we'll show you how they all come together. Perfect. So the next step is that hero meets a guide with a solution. This is where you would say, like, I'm a wedding photographer who, and then we want to position your service as the solution to this problem. So tell me how you solve this problem.
Approach every wedding day with both people in mind, or approach every wedding day with an editorial eye and a focus on, I don't know, timeless keepsakes, something like that. Yeah, like something where you're like can clearly say, I'm there for you and your mom without saying it that bluntly.
Right. Totally. Okay. And then tell me what after the hero engages with you and you're the guide, what do they get as the benefit of all this? What do they end up with? Like, what's their life like after they've had the benefit and the honor of working with you at their wedding?
I think all their most important people feel valued and seen, and like I was there just for them, even though I was there for a lot of different people, but like everyone feels like they got what they wanted and they felt really special and seen.
Oh, okay. Huge.
Okay, wait, run me back through the 4 things again. So we have define the problem is number 1.
Define the problem. Hero has a problem they can't solve. So
hero has a problem they can't solve.
What's the problem your customers have or your clients have that they can't solve?
Perfect.
Pick one. Brain dump 3 or 5 and pick one. And then they meet a guide with a solution. So we position you as the guide and your service as the solution to the problem.
Cool. So number 2, show
Mhm.
how you are the guide and the solution to the hero's problem.
Yes, exactly. Just position yourself as the guide. So we're going to introduce you as the guide by saying, I'm a wedding photographer who, and then we're going to position your service as the solution.
Yeah.
And
Like
then
it's the I got your back moment.
yes, totally. I got a plan. I know how to do this. I've done this a million times before. Don't worry. Like, I got you.
Amazing.
Completely. Okay. And then we want to paint a vision of what success looks like for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3 is paint a vision of what success looks like. That one, I feel like, you tell me if I'm wrong, but like you can put that in, once you know that one, you can put that in an Instagram post. You can show how this client, everyone was happy, or in this example, you know, like mom's happy, couple's happy. You can like pull those out, right? And like
Yeah.
those.
Here's a little trick for every Instagram post that you ever write. I mean, you could use this 100% of the time and you'd get way more engagement. So,
Oh my gosh. Okay. Listen up.
yeah. Okay. Get your pens out, people. Write this down. So every story begins with a hero who has a problem they can't solve. Brain dump 5 or 10 problems that your customers have, and then begin every post you write with a problem. Begin every post you write with that problem. Because the minute if I'm your ideal client and I'm reading the problem that you're talking about and it's my problem, I am just pulled in. Our brains find problems like that 100% irresistible. We cannot help but engage. And so that is really like just one simple way to just get the juices flowing and get to posting in a way that feels connected. And then that will allow you not to have to talk about yourself, or not to have to kind of start with a complete blank page. You've got these, 5, 10, 15 bullets on a Google Doc that you always refer to, and you can change up how you phrase it. You can change it up, but just go to your little dumping ground and start with the problem. Every story starts with a problem, and I find that posting can be so much easier when you do start with the problem.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Like, wanted to have a destination wedding, but we couldn't. And so here's how we made this venue look like Paris or whatever. Like,
Right.
that would be an example of a kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's a problem. Or I long to have a destination wedding in Paris. Or like one client, you might say, like one client I had longed to have a destination wedding in Paris, and she had dreamt about it her whole life, but because of COVID or finances, it just wasn't possible. Okay, whoa, really? That happened? I'm all in. I want to know, is this problem going to be solved? And that's the way it works. It's just brain science. And as stories, when you start with a problem, you're really beginning a story. And stories they're actually 22 times more memorable than just like regular information. So it's a great way to just be remembered for the work that you're doing as well.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, like if you were like Kristin, I started a business and it was floundering and it was super hard. And then I started implementing this structure into my copywriting, and my business 300x or whatever. I'd be like, what? That's amazing. Like, so, going back to that, when do we pull in personal stories? Do we try to make them stick with like our client's problem, so it still is like hitting that?
Wait, well, let me make sure I'm understanding your question. So you're saying, should I talk about my own problem and my own struggles versus my customers' struggles?
Like every once in a while. Does it ever help if it's like similar?
I'm totally cool with that. As long as you can show that you've overcome struggle. Like really what you're doing is you're showing up as a guide and saying, I've been through this struggle, I solved it, and I got to experience these results now, and now I'd like to help you. Now I'd like to help you come through it. So, but again, any story, all stories begin with a problem. So whether it's about you or it's about your customer, they both work.
Totally. Awesome.
Yeah. So let's refine your one-liner and get it dialed in so we can like kind of see the magic come together.
Cool.
Okay. So we've got many brides struggle to find a photographer who can balance the modern editorial style with traditional. I'm a wedding photographer I'm a wedding photographer who who approaches every wedding with both styles in mind. So everybody feels seen and heard and gets what they wanted.
I love it.
That's your tagline.
Love it.
Now, take that and copy and paste it, put it in the footer of your emails, put it in all your bios in social media, put it on LinkedIn or wherever else you post, and put it on your website too.
I think when you have something like that you're really known for, like, I've seen this with different things in marketing too. When someone can be like, oh, this problem came up for my client, or this problem came up over here, who's going to be great for that? If you're very clear on the thing that you solve, the problem you solve, then you're the top of mind for that referral. You're the top of mind person to solve that problem. You're like, oh my gosh, well, Kristin totally does that. Or, Rebecca totally does that. And that it helps with your referral strategy too.
Yeah, it does. When you can kind of beat that same drum over and over and over again. I mean, people need to hear things like 8 times before they can commit it to memory. And so that's why copying and pasting this and putting it everywhere is so effective, because when it comes at us multiple different ways and in multiple different times, we finally remember it. And we can either think of you when we need to solve that problem, or when a friend does, we remember that you're the one that does that. So we, refer you.
Amazing. Ooh, can we do it one more time? Because I also have a secret dream. Everyone listening knows this, of being a matchmaker. So maybe just real quick with our silly example.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Okay, great. Okay, who are your clients? Who do you, in a perfect world, let's be really defined. Are they women, men, both, age group?
My clients are women who are 30 plus, who have had success in their business and are just beautiful queens. And their problem is that they're just really struggling to find someone on the same level as them.
Okay. Okay, I think I might hire you.
I'll let you know when I launch my beta version of my offering.
I'm totally in. Awesome. I'll be your beta client. Yeah, keep me in the loop. What a fun like side gig. Okay. So tell me, I know this is kind of still a formulation in your mind, but like, how are you gonna solve that problem for them? And you can pretend, if you haven't done it, just pretend
I'm going to solve that problem for them by doing a lot of the prep work, like a lot of the vetting work, so that when they show up on a date, they know someone is kind and qualified and, has their own career and is a good catch. So I feel like that means like doing some Bumble swiping for them, like finding those initial matches, dealing with all of the, the hey you up texts, like someone gets to be the buffer for all of that, like silliness. Right. And so they have like serious qualified dates that like they get to, it saves them a ton of time. So much time.
Okay. So let's go through this. So many good nuggets in here. So the problem is that many successful career women over 30 struggle to find someone on their same level.
Mm-hmm.
Struggle to find a partner, a mate.
Yeah, a partner that shares their vision and goals or something.
I think it might just be that like a qualified date.
Dates that don't waste their time. Can we make it funny? They just struggle to find dates that don't waste their time.
Yes, totally. Or you know what, we could even start with many successful career women over 30 waste a lot of time on dates with duds.
I love it.
Okay.
Let's make it sassy.
We might as well. Okay, this is purely for fun, but you could probably totally use this too. Waste. So the time, the problem is really time.
I think that's the problem of like, oh my gosh, I just texted with this guy for 3 months and now he tells me he doesn't want to be in a relationship. What?
Okay.
You're laughing because it's true.
Oh, totally. No, I think anyone dating is totally gonna buy into this. Okay. My matchmaking method. So now we want to introduce you as the guide and your service as the solution. So let's finish a sentence that starts with my matchmaking method clears the clutter and vets the best guys so you can what else are they going to happen once they're going to find a good catch? What's their life going to look like once they meet their
okay, this is the vision after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like, does it, even if it's not once they meet their match, but even just like when they're dating people that are fun to be around, like even if that's the result of like going on dates that are enjoyable and intellectually stimulate, you're just like,
yeah.
So let's see, if our matchmaking method clears the clutter. So
I've got it. Okay.
You can date like an adult. Is that like too jerky? I feel like that was just really mean of me.
No, not at all. There was a woman, have you ever heard of the garbage post challenge? It's a social media. Have you heard of it? Yeah. Somebody did a shift on that where they called it the garbage bitch challenge. And so she just had like strong opinions and she was tired of filtering herself. So for 30 days, she did 100 posts of just what her truth was.
Oh my gosh.
It was really refreshing, I think. We're getting close here. So many career women over 30 waste a lot of time on dates with duds. My matchmaking method clears the clutter and vets the best guys so you can enjoy every date and find your perfect match.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, I think enjoy every date.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Right? People would pay for that just knowing they would enjoy every date.
I like it because it doesn't overpromise like I'm gonna find you your dream person, but you're gonna value their time and they're not gonna be wasting their time on dates that are just completely a mismatch.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so we did the identify your client and the problem.
Yep.
Wait, yeah. Identify the problem, how you guide. And then what's number 4?
4 is combine them all together.
Cool.
Pick your favorite ones. So we've done the 3 steps, and then the 4th one is just take your favorite from the problem, take your favorite from the solution, and take your favorite from the success. Combine them all together into one little encapsulated nugget that will sell for you, and also just make you feel super confident when someone says, hey, what do you do? So I want to hear you say it. Can you remember it?
Yeah, okay. Okay. Also, this is a message to all the single gentlemen out here. If you would like to be on my qualified dating list. Okay, here it is.
Okay. I'll help you if you need it.
Okay. Many successful career women over 30,
waste a lot of time.
Oh, waste a lot of time dating duds. But my matchmaking method clears a lot of the what was the word we used? Because it was so good.
Clutter.
Clears a lot of the clutter, so you can enjoy every date and meet the match of your dreams.
Yeah, find your perfect match.
Find your perfect match.
Love
Amazing.
it.
I would hire me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so if you're listening, I hope you have at least some ideas of how to make your elevator pitch, at least some problems, maybe workshop them together with some solutions. But this has been so fun. Thank you for helping us do this. I need to go back and rework all of my elevator pitches now.
Yeah, and I have a freebie that will walk you through this process with a Google Doc that will also kind of prompt you and guide you. So once you have that Google Doc, you can just keep it handy and repurpose it anytime you want to do this. It will guide you through the process. And then there's a 5-minute video walking you through just the nuggets that you need to know.
Amazing. Okay. Is that at, I know we'll have the link in the show notes, but is that reddoordesigns.com?
Reddoordesigns.com. That's red, REDDOOR designs, DESIGNS.com. And that freebie is there. It's called How to Write Compelling Copy in 5 minutes flat. And then I have another offer on there that will help you write your website copy in 2.5 hours flat.
Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Well, Kris, anything you want to leave our audience with, a little encouragement or motivation to get out there and crush their website copy or tell better stories? What can you leave us with?
I think the best thing to remember is just to let yourself off the hook with how hard it is to write for your own self. Like, we're so close to our own businesses. We're kind of like inside the bottle, and we're trying to read the label that can only be read from the outside. So I want you guys to know that this is true for every business owner. We all struggle with writing for ourselves, and the best thing you can do to make yourself the guide and your customer the hero is to write down the problems that your clients have and just keep talking about that over and over, and you'll be in really good shape.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on this episode of the Dangerous Creatives podcast. We can't wait to keep following along with what you do. And if you tuned in, thanks for joining us again. It always is so fun to have you here. So thank you so much, Kris.
Thank you so much.
Is your website turning away potential clients? I can help you turn that around. Book a money-making messaging call with me today, and we'll transform your story into your most powerful sales tool. That's all for this episode of From Click to Client. Don't forget to subscribe and follow. I'm Kris Jones, and I'll see you next time.